Hi, my name is Neil Kelleher. In this video I'll be going over some basic yoga exercises for the glutes. Now one of the secrets to developing your glute muscle, both to make it bigger if that's what you want, but also to be able to use it better, is to first learn how to deliberately contract it. The one exercise that you can do, one quick exercise, is to rotate your thighs inwards, so move the fronts of the thighs inwards. And then from there, if you feel your sitting bones, try to separate your sitting bones. If you try and spread your sitting bones, you may find your glutes activate a little bit, not completely, but slight activation. Another way to activate the glutes is to externally rotate the thighs and then relax. Externally rotate, you may find then that your glutes activate, and then relax, and you'll find your glutes relax. So then once you have that action, so externally rotate, feel your glutes contracting, memorize the feelings rather than just going like that, oh yeah, my glutes are hard. See if you can memorize the feeling of the glutes actually contracting the muscle. And then when you relax, you'll be able to feel the relaxation, so you can know the difference. That's why I suggest externally rotate, see if you can feel the contractive effort, then relax, see if you can feel the glute relaxing. Then once you have that, see if you can do the same thing, contract the glutes without actually externally rotating. So from there, squeeze your butt, relax, squeeze your butt, relax. For further training, try one side at a time. Squeeze your right butt, keep the left relaxed. Squeeze your left butt, keep the right relaxed. So a quick way you can use that is if you're going into a squat, you don't even have to reach your hips back, but just for your knees, if you have knee problems, you might want to reach your hips and knees back, and then hold a squat. You can reach your arms forward, squeeze your butt, relax, squeeze your butt, relax. And if you're having difficulty with just squeezing, you can also try externally rotating your thighs. So try and get the same feeling of externally rotating thighs. You'll find your glutes will activate and then relax. Externally rotate your thighs and then relax. So that's one quick tip for activating and strengthening the glutes. Another glute activation exercise you can do while standing is to shift your weight onto one leg. Lift your tailbone. As you lift your tailbone so your pelvis tilts forward, activate the lumbar spinal erector so your lumbar spine bends backwards. Activate your thoracic spinal erector so you're bending your rib cage back. You can also open your ribs a little bit. And then from there, your free leg, reach it back. Keep the knee pointing forward. So reach the free leg back. Keep your spinal erectors activated. And the more you work at pushing the leg back, the more this butt cheek will activate. You also find that the hamstring activates. You can then relax. Tailbone lift, bend your spine backwards. You can also pull your lower belly in, reach the free leg back, keep the knee pointing forward, push the leg back to activate the gluteus maximus. You can also squeeze the hamstring. Another trick that might help is see if you can either push through the heel of the lifted leg. Another exercise is more for the hip flexor. So if you're exercising the glutes, you also want to activate or exercise the hip flexors for balance. So for that exercise, so one standing exercise you can do, drop the tailbone so your lower back opens up, it feels more open, so the back of the lumbar spine feels open. You can pull the lower belly in, stand on one leg, and lift the free leg. Now for this exercise, to lift your knee higher, focus on drawing your lower belly in more. Also focus on drawing your tailbone down more. So the higher you lift the knee, the more you close the front of the hip joint, the more your lumbar spine or the back of your lower back opens up, and that works on the hip flexor of the lifted leg. But you may also find when you drop the tailbone and pull your lower belly in, the butt of the standing leg activates to help keep the standing hip stable. So here again, drop the tailbone, pull the lower belly in. As you lift the knee higher, try to drop the tailbone down more, try to open up your lumbar spine more. The following exercise works on both the hip extensor, so your butt muscle, and also the hip extensor. And one way to think of the butt muscle is that when you're standing on both legs, the butt muscles, the glute maximus, can be used to push the hips forwards. Meanwhile, the hip flexors, mainly the psoas, can be used to push the hips back. So to start off with, focus on pushing your hips back, and don't even worry about the muscle contraction for now. Focus on the pelvis. Notice how the fronts of my feet are lifted, my weight is over my heels. Push your hips back. You can go to spine horizontal, reach the arms forward, maximize the backward push of your hips, or bend forwards if you like, that's fine too. But focus on pushing your hips back. You may also feel like your glutes, your butt muscles are stretching upwards. And then from there, slowly stand up. As you stand up, push your hips and your center of gravity forward. So weight onto the fronts of your feet, your heels will lift. Focus on pushing your hips forwards. Then push the hips back, get arms forward like so or like so, and then push the hips forwards. So once you have the feeling of moving your hips back and forwards, then emphasize the movements. When you push your hips forwards, focus on opening the front of the hip joint. And as you do that, as you push your hips forward, you'll find your butt will activate. The more you push your hips forward, the more your butt will activate. And so that your entire spine is involved, squeeze your butt, activate your lumbar spinal erectors, and your thoracic spinal erectors. Push your hips forward. So it's a back bend for the hip, lumbar spine, and thoracic spine can pull the arms back. And then go the opposite way. Push your hips back, stretch the buttocks upwards, and if you like, you can use your abs to bend the spine forward so you're crunching towards your thighs. The arms can reach forward for this exercise, for that portion of the exercise. Slowly push your hips and your weight forward, activate the back of the body, pull the arms back, and then push the hips back. Close the front of the body. Repeat that any number of times. I'd suggest doing it slowly and smoothly initially. Focus on contracting the the gluteus maximus when you're pushing your hips forward. Focus on squeezing the lumbar spinal erectors to open up the front of the belly. Focus on squeezing the thoracic spinal erectors to open up the rib cage. In addition, to open up the rib cage further, lift and expand the rib cage so you're using the intercostal muscles between the rib cage. That exercise actually leads into another version of squat. So now, as you reach your hips back, bend your knees. So as I reach my hips back, I'm keeping my knees over my feet so my weight's back. If you find that you feel like you're falling forward, reach your arms forward, or just shift your weight forward so that the fronts of your feet press down. Then so your hips are back, as you stand up, push your hips forward and do the same action. Excuse me. Push your hips forward so your butt activates, bend your spine backwards, pull your arms back. And then reach your hips back, bend the knees, reach your arms forward. You can even make the arms feel long, make the spine feel long. And then push your hips forwards. Try to go for a nice smooth action so that the exercise is functional. Focus on what you're actually doing with the pelvis. So feel your pelvis moving forward and up. Or feel your butt contracting to push your pelvis forward and up. If you're more interested in the pushing the hips back, you can focus on closing the front of the hip joint to shoot your hips back. Work on both, either in isolation or together, so that you have control of your hips both moving forward and backwards. One other exercise where you can practice, there are more, but one other exercise I'll go over is bridge pose and dead dog pose. So lie on your back. Move your feet close enough to your butt so your hands can touch your feet, push your hips up. Now for this action, so that you can more effectively activate your butt muscles, move your tailbone back so that your pubic bone moves forwards. Then from there, use your legs, push your hips up and back so that your lumbar spine bends backwards, and then push your shoulders down to help bend your thoracic spine backwards. Now what you should find is that your butt activates, and what you can do is squeeze your right waist so the right waist shortens. You may find your right butt activates more and your left butt relaxes a little bit. Squeeze the right rib cage, and as you do so, maybe reach your right hand towards your foot. Then relax, and then do the other side. Squeeze your left waist, squeeze your left butt. You may find it activates automatically when you squeeze your left waist. Squeeze your left side rib cage, reach for the foot, then relax and go back to, and then repeat. Counter pose. This is more for the abs rather than the hip flexors, but at any rate, with arms and legs up, lift your hips up and lift your upper body up, and that'll activate more your abs. You could try squeezing the sideways if you like. Exercise that may activate the hip flexors, start in the lying position, and this is to get up from the lying position. So after doing dog pose or dead dog reach, so your abs activate, lie down, reach your arms and legs forward, lift your head. Now here the weight of your legs should be sufficient, have enough leverage that you can sit up. As you sit up, bend your knees, you'll be exercising your abs. So reach your legs forward, lean back. So now you'll be exercising your hip flexors and your abs. Lie down, lift your legs. Reach your arms and legs forward. As the weight of your legs is forward enough to lift your rib cage, and then bend your knees. If that's too difficult, grab onto your thighs. Slowly lie back. Then lift your legs. Relax. Grab your thighs, slowly sit up. And even grabbing the thighs, you'll still find your abs are activating. And then relax. And then one further exercise from that is to roll back. Reach your legs back. Reach your arms back. And then slowly sit up. If you're having trouble getting back, lie down, press your hands against the floor, reach your hips back. If you're having trouble holding, put your hands against your lower back. Then release, see if you can slowly roll out, and then up to sitting. All right, so that's a quick look at glute activation, hip flexor activation. As an added bonus, that rolling exercise is also great for working on your abdominals, your midsection, and at the same time you also get to work on balance, particularly if you do it slowly and smoothly. And for all the exercises, start off slow and smooth, work at feeling your body moving, work at feeling your muscles contracting and relaxing, so then you can carry that same awareness and control into doing the same movements quickly. Hope that helped. Have a wonderful day. Namaste.